Hello, it's great to have you here. If you enjoy our stories, please like and subscribe to the channel. It's a simple gesture that helps us continue bringing new adventures to you. The year was 1888, and the sun hung low over the vast, sprawling expanse of the Silver Creek Ranch, casting long golden shadows across the rolling hills that Julian Sterling called his own. To the uninitiated eye, the land was merely dirt and grass, but to Julian it was an empire, a testament to his family's legacy and his own astute business acumen. He was a man who understood the value of tangible assets, from the thousands of head of cattle that grazed on his pastures to the rich mineral deposits that lay beneath the soil, waiting to be discovered. His fortune was not merely inherited, it was cultivated, expanded upon, with the precision of a master chess player. In the world of high-stakes finance and land ownership in the American West, Julian Sterling was a name that commanded respect and often envy. Julian stood on the wraparound porch of his palatial ranch house, a structure that rivaled the finest mansions of San Francisco or New York. Constructed from imported mahogany and local stone, it stood as a beacon of civilization and unparalleled wealth in the rugged territory. He adjusted the cuffs of his silk shirt, his mind occupied not with the breathtaking sunset, but with the upcoming merger, not of banks or railroads, but of families. His engagement to Isabella Montgomery was the talk of the territory. Bella was the daughter of a railroad magnate whose tracks crisscrossed the continent carrying goods, gold, and the future of the nation. Their union would consolidate two of the most powerful fortunes in the West, creating a dynasty that would influence markets and politics for generations to come. It was a match made in ledgers and balance sheets, certainly, but Julian also held a deep, albeit reserved, affection for Bella. She was spirited, intelligent, and possessed a beauty that was as undeniable as the value of a gold nugget. However, the tranquility of the evening was interrupted by the approach of riders. They were not the usual ranch hands or business associates arriving in carriages. They moved with a silent grace, their horses stepping lightly upon the dusty earth. As they drew closer to the main corral, Julian recognized them instantly. They were Apache, a sight that usually sent his ranch hands reaching for their rifles, but Julian raised a hand, signaling his men to stand down. He was a man of business, and he knew that profit could be found in the most unlikely of alliances. Among the riders was Lozan, a woman whose reputation as a warrior and a seer was known throughout the territories. She rode with a dignity that matched Julian's own, her eyes sharp and assessing. Julian descended the porch steps, his boots crunching softly on the gravel. He met them near the stables, away from the prying eyes of the house staff, or so he thought. He did not see the flutter of expensive lace near the corner of the barn. Bella had arrived early for their dinner, intending to surprise him, but the sight of the Apache riders had piqued her curiosity. She knew Julian's business dealings were vast and varied, often involving negotiations that required discretion. Driven by a mix of concern and intrigue, she slipped into the shadows of the stable, pressing herself against the rough wood, straining to hear. Lozan dismounted, leaving her companions on their horses. She approached Julian, stopping a few paces away. The air between them was thick with tension, but also a strange mutual respect. "Sterling," she said, her English accented but clear, "we have watched you. You are a man who builds. You seek to expand your domain." "I am a businessman, Lozan," Julian replied, his voice low and steady. "I deal in opportunities. Why have you come to Silver Creek? If it is charity you seek, I have protocols for donations, but I prefer investments." Lozan's eyes narrowed slightly. "This is no charity. It is a trade, an offer." She stepped closer, lowering her voice further, forcing Bella to lean in dangerously close to the slat in the wood to hear. "We know of a place," Lozan continued, her voice a whisper that carried the weight of mountains. "A vein of gold, pure and untouched. It runs deep through the canyon lands in a territory the government claims but does not know." Bella's breath hitched. Gold. The very word was synonymous with power and security. But it was Lozan's next words that sent a chill of misunderstanding through her heart. "It is a forbidden place," Lozan said. "If the army finds it, they will take it and drive us further away. But you have the power to hide it, to claim it quietly. We offer you the location. It will make you richer than your railroads or your cattle ever could. You will be rewarded as no other man has been." From her hiding spot, Bella missed the context of the gold. The wind had picked up, obscuring the word gold and vein. What she heard was, "We know of a place, a forbidden place. We offer you. You will be rewarded as no other man has been." Her mind, already primed with the anxieties of a bride-to-be marrying a powerful and desirable man, spun a different narrative. She saw a beautiful, exotic woman offering Julian something forbidden and promising a reward that no other man had known. "And the price?" Julian asked, his tone calculating. He was thinking of mining rights, of silent partners, of the immense capital gains such a discovery would yield. "Protection," Lozin replied. "The winter comes, and our supplies are low. The soldiers block our trade routes. We need cattle. We need the political influence you hold in Washington to halt the patrols near the sacred lands. We give you the treasure. You give us survival. But it must be secret. Meet me tonight at the Canyon Pass. Alone. No one can know about us." Bella felt the blood drain from her face. "Meet me tonight, alone. No one can know about us." The words echoed in her mind, stripping away the context of trade and survival, leaving only the stark, painful implication of an illicit affair. She pressed her hand over her mouth to stifle a gasp. Julian, the man she was to marry in less than a month, was arranging a secret rendezvous with this woman. The mention of cattle and supplies was lost to her, overshadowed by the intimacy of the request for secrecy and the promise of a unique reward. Julian nodded slowly. "It is a high risk," he said, rubbing his chin, "but the return on investment is substantial. If what you say is true, this partnership could be the most lucrative of my career. I will meet you." "Tonight," Lozin confirmed, mounting her horse with a fluid motion. "Do not fail us, Sterling." As the Apache riders turned and galloped away into the fading light, disappearing as quickly as they had arrived, Julian stood alone, a look of intense concentration on his face. He was mentally calculating the logistics of moving cattle without alerting the sheriff and how to leverage his contacts in the Department of the Interior. He saw a future where Silver Creek was not just a ranch, but the center of a mining empire. Bella, however, saw only betrayal. She pulled back from the stable wall, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. Tears pricked her eyes, hot and stinging. She had come here to discuss flower arrangements and the guest list, to share a quiet evening with her future husband. Instead, she had stumbled upon what she believed to be the shattering of her dreams. She turned and fled back towards her carriage, her silk skirts rustling loudly in the quiet evening. But Julian was too deep in thought to hear her. She ordered her driver to take her home immediately, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts, none of them regarding gold or politics. She thought of her dowry, her social standing, and the humiliation of being a jilted bride. But beneath the hurt, a spark of Montgomery steel flared to life. She was not a woman to be trifled with. She would not sit idly by while her future was compromised. If Julian Sterling thought he could play games with her heart, he would find that Isabella Montgomery was a formidable opponent. The drive back to the Montgomery estate was a blur of tears and anger. The landscape of the West, usually so majestic to her eyes, now seemed harsh and unforgiving. By the time she arrived at her father's estate, night had fallen completely. The gas lamps of the mansion flickered like accusatory eyes. Bella went straight to her room, ignoring her father's greeting from the library. She paced the floor, the luxurious Persian rug beneath her feet offering no comfort. She had to know the truth. She had to see it with her own eyes. Julian had agreed to meet the woman tonight. "I will not be a fool," she whispered to the empty room. She went to her wardrobe and pulled out a riding habit, something dark and practical. She would follow him. She would witness his infidelity, and then she would destroy him. Not with guns or violence, but with the power of her family's influence. She would ruin his reputation, cut off his credit lines, and ensure that Silver Creek became a desolate wasteland. The anger was a shield, protecting her from the crushing heartbreak that threatened to consume her. Back at Silver Creek, Julian was in his study, poring over maps of the territory. He circled the area Lozin had indicated, calculating the potential yield. This was a business maneuver that required absolute precision. If he succeeded, he would secure his financial dominance for decades. He checked his pocket watch. It was time. He extinguished the lamps, grabbed his coat and hat, and headed for the stables. He saddled his favorite stallion, a beast as black as the night, and rode out, unaware that he was being trailed not by bandits or lawmen, but by the woman he loved, armed with a broken heart and a determination as fierce as any storm. The Canyon Pass was a desolate place, shadowed by towering rock formations that looked like ancient sentinels. The moon was a sliver of silver in the sky, offering scant light. Julian rode steadily, his mind focused on the negotiation ahead. He was prepared to offer 50 head of cattle immediately, with more to follow, in exchange for the map to the gold vein. It was a fair price for a resource that would generate millions in revenue. Bella kept her distance, her heart in her throat. She saw Julian stop near a cluster of boulders. Moments later, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the woman from the ranch. Bella watched as they stood close together. From her vantage point, the exchange of a leather scroll, the map, looked like an intimate touch. The handshake that sealed the deal looked like holding hands. The wind carried the murmur of their voices, but not the words. "Here is the location," Lawson said, handing the map to Julian. "The gold is pure. It sits in the quartz like stars in the sky. And the cattle will be at the North Ridge by dawn," Julian promised, tucking the map into his coat pocket. "My foreman is trustworthy. He will see to the transfer." "You are a man of your word, Sterling," Lawson said. Bella watched, her knuckles white as she gripped the reins. To her, it was a lover's tryst. She saw the exchange, the closeness, the secrecy. It was all the proof she needed, or so she thought. A dangerous resolve settled over her. She wouldn't just watch, she would confront. But as she urged her horse forward, a loose stone clattered loudly down the rocky slope. Julian and Lawson both spun around, hands going to their hips where weapons would be. "Who goes there?" Julian called out, his voice sharp, commanding. Bella froze. The element of surprise was lost, but the confrontation was inevitable. She spurred her horse, emerging from the shadows into the pale moonlight, her face pale and set in grim determination. "It is I, Julian," she announced, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and sorrow. "Your fiancée. Or should I say the woman you were planning to make a fool of?" Julian's eyes widened in genuine shock. "Bella, what on earth are you doing here? It's dangerous." "Dangerous?" She laughed bitterly. "The only danger here is to your reputation, Julian. I heard everything at the ranch. Forbidden, reward, secret. And now I find you here, with her." She gestured accusingly at Lawson. Julian looked from Bella to Lawson and back, the realization dawning on him. He was a genius in the boardroom, a master of the stock market, but in this moment he realized he had failed to manage the most important asset of all, trust. "Bella," he started, taking a step towards her. "You don't understand. This isn't what it looks like. This is business." "Business?" Bella scoffed, tears finally spilling over. "Is that what you call it? Meeting women in the dark? Accepting rewards?" Lawson watched the scene with a stoic expression. She understood conflicts of land and war, but the conflicts of the heart were a different territory. However, she sensed the danger of the noise. "Sterling," she warned quietly, "voices carry. We are not alone in these canyons." As if on cue, a shot rang out, echoing off the canyon walls. Dirt kicked up near Julian's boot. The misunderstanding had to wait. The real danger of the Wild West had just arrived, threatening to silence them all before the truth could ever be spoken. The gunshot shattered the stillness of the night, sending a flock of roosting birds screeching into the dark sky. Julian's instincts, honed by years of defending his property and assets, kicked in instantly. He didn't reach for a weapon to return fire. His first priority was risk management, specifically the safety of his most valuable partner, Bella. "Get down!" Julian roared, lunging towards Bella's horse. He pulled her from the saddle just as a second bullet whizzed past, striking the pommel where she had been seconds before. They tumbled onto the dusty ground behind a large boulder, the rough grit digging into their fine clothes. "Stay down!" he commanded, his voice leaving no room for argument. He drew the pearl-handled revolver he carried, more for status than daily use, but fully functional and deadly in skilled hands. Lawson had vanished into the shadows of the rocks the moment the first shot was fired. Moving with the stealth of a mountain lion, she was a warrior, and this was her element. "Who are they?" Bella gasped, her anger momentarily replaced by the primal fear of death. She clung to Julian's coat, the scent of his cologne mixed with the dust of the canyon. "Outlaws," Julian gritted out, peering around the edge of the rock. "Likely tracking Lawson. Or perhaps they got wind that a man of my standing would be out here alone. Kidnappers looking for a ransom payout." He knew that men like him, with high net worth and liquid assets, were constant targets. "They don't know you're here, Bella. That's our only advantage." "Well, looky here," a coarse voice shouted from the darkness above. "Looks like we caught ourselves a big fish, boys. That's Sterling's horse. That saddle alone is worth more than my life." Julian checked the cylinder of his revolver. "Bella, listen to me," he whispered urgently, his face close to hers. "I need you to trust me, just for 5 minutes. Forget what you think you saw. We are in a hostile negotiation now, and I intend to close this deal with us alive." Bella looked into his eyes. They were the same eyes she had fallen in love with, intense, intelligent, and currently filled with a fierce protectiveness. Despite her heartbreak, she nodded. "What do I do?" "Stay here. Keep your head down. I'm going to draw their fire to the left. Lozan is out there. She'll flank them." "Lozan," Bella whispered, the name tasting bitter. "You trust her with our lives?" "I trust her with my business, and I trust her skills," Julian said firmly. "She's an ally, Bella, not a mistress." Before she could process that, Julian moved. He broke cover, sprinting towards a cluster of scrub oak, firing 2 shots into the darkness to draw attention. The bandits obliged, their muzzle flashes lighting up the ridgeline. Bullets kicked up dirt around Julian's feet, but he dove safely behind a fallen log. Bella watched, terrified. She realized in that moment that the man risking his life was not a cheater. A man who lied to his betrothed didn't throw himself into the line of fire to protect her. Suddenly, a scream echoed from the ridge, followed by the silence of a man falling, then another. Lozan was at work. The Apache warrior was dismantling the threat with silent, brutal efficiency. She didn't need guns. The darkness was her weapon. Julian used the distraction to fire again, his aim true. A yelp of pain from the rocks confirmed a hit. "Throw down your arms," Julian shouted. "I have the strategic advantage. Surrender now and you walk away. Continue, and you will be liquidated." Even in a gunfight, Julian spoke like the tycoon he was. Silence stretched for a moment. Then the sound of scrambling boots and horses galloping away signaled the retreat of the surviving outlaws. They had expected an easy target, not a coordinated defense between a wealthy landowner and an Apache warrior. Julian didn't relax immediately. He waited, listening to the fading hoofbeats. Only when Lozan materialized from the darkness, nodding once, did he holster his weapon. He hurried back to Bella, helping her up. "Are you injured?" he asked, his hands checking her arms and shoulders, his concern palpable. I am fine," Bella stammered, dusting off her riding habit. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her trembling. "That was too close," Julian exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I should never have agreed to meet without my own security detail. It was a lapse in judgment." Lozan approached them, retrieving an arrow from the dirt. "The men were drifters. They are gone." She looked at Bella. "Your woman has courage, Sterling. She rode into the dark to fight for what is hers." Bella blushed, feeling foolish. "I rode into the dark to catch a traitor," she corrected, though her voice lacked its earlier venom. She looked at Julian. You said she is an ally. You said this is business." Julian sighed, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out the leather map Lozan had given him. "Bella, look at this." He unfolded it in the moonlight. "This isn't a love letter. It's a geological survey, effectively. Lozan's people found a gold vein, a massive one. They can't mine it without the army taking it all. They offered me the location in exchange for food and protection for her tribe this winter." Bella stared at the map, the markings crude but clear. "Gold?" "Yes," Julian said. "It's a joint venture. I provide the logistics and political cover. They provide the asset. The secret was to keep the government from finding out before I could file the proper claims and secure the land. The reward she spoke of was profit, Bella. Pure, simple profit." Bella looked at Lozan, who stood impassively. The realization of her mistake crashed down on her. She had let her insecurities override her logic. She had jeopardized a multi-million-dollar deal and their lives because of jealousy. Bella started, looking down at her boots. "I heard forbidden and secret, and I assumed the worst." "It is a forbidden offer," Lozan said simply. "Forbidden by your laws, not ours. Sterling is a man who sees value where others see only enemies. That is why we came to him." Julian took Bella's hands. "Bella, I am building this empire for us, for our future children. I would never jeopardize our merger, our marriage, for a fling. You are the only partner I want, in life and in business." Bella felt tears well up again, but this time from relief and shame. "I've been such a fool," she whispered. "I almost ruined everything." "Not everything," Julian said, a small smile playing on his lips. "We still have the map, and we have a witness." He looked at Lozan. "The deal stands?" "The deal stands," Lozan affirmed. "The cattle?" "Will be there," Julian promised. However, the night was not over. As they prepared to mount their horses, Lozan held up a hand. "Wait." She knelt, pressing her ear to the ground. More riders, many more, coming from the east. Julian frowned. The sheriff? The army? Heavy horses, Lawson said. Shod, moving fast. Not outlaws. Julian's face darkened. My foreman. If he heard the shots, he might have rallied the men, or... A terrible thought crossed his mind. Or it's your father's men, Bella. If they saw you leave in a rage. If Bella's father, the railroad tycoon with a temper as explosive as dynamite, found Julian out here with his daughter and an Apache warrior, the situation could escalate into a war that would destroy the very alliance Julian was trying to build. The misunderstanding was cleared between them, but to the outside world the optics were still disastrous. Hey everyone, before we find out who is riding towards them, I'd love to know where you are watching from. Please leave a comment below with your city and country, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. We need to move, Julian decided. If that is a posse, they will shoot first and ask questions later. Lawson, can you guide us through the back trails to the ranch? We need to get Bella home before a scandal or a war erupts. Follow me, Lawson said, swinging onto her horse. They rode hard, the wind whipping past them. Julian rode beside Bella, his hand occasionally reaching out to steady her horse. They were united now, partners in a secret that was far more dangerous and profitable than a mere affair. They were racing against time, protecting a fortune in gold and the fragile peace of the territory. But as they crested the final ridge overlooking the valley, they saw not a posse, but a line of torches snake-like in the distance, heading straight for the hidden canyon they had just left. They aren't coming for us, Julian realized, pulling his horse to a halt. They're going for the gold, someone else knows. Bella looked at him, her mind sharpening. Who else knew about the meeting? Julian looked at Lawson. Lawson looked back, her expression grim. No one, she said. Unless we have a leak, Julian finished. Corporate espionage. Someone in my organization or yours, Bella. The romance had been saved, but the business war had just begun. The sight of the torches snaking towards the hidden canyon ignited a different kind of fire in Julian Sterling. This was no longer just about land or cattle. It was about intellectual property theft and corporate espionage. Someone had leaked the intel, and in the cutthroat world of 1888 business, that was an act of war. My foreman, Julian said, his voice cold. Vance. He was the only other person I told about the cattle transfer. He must have pieced it together. Bella guided her horse closer to his. The fear from earlier had evaporated, replaced by the steely resolve that ran in the Montgomery bloodline. If they reach the canyon before you file the claim, Julian, you lose everything. The rights effectively belong to whoever stakes it first. Exactly, Julian nodded. And Vance knows the terrain. He's leading them to the mother lode. Lawson spoke up, her voice calm amidst the rising panic. The canyon is a trap for those who do not know the spirits, but for men with dynamite, the spirits bleed. We must stop them before they desecrate the earth. Julian looked at Bella. Go to the ranch. Lock yourself in. I have to stop them. No, Bella said firmly. I am going with you. If this is Vance, he's a Sterling employee, but he's using Montgomery Railroad dynamite. I saw the crates on the wagons down there. That makes this my business too. Besides, she added, a shrewd glint in her eye, you need a witness who isn't an Apache to validate your claim against a claim jumper. A Montgomery witness holds weight in any court in the land. Julian looked at her with newfound admiration. This was not just a beautiful socialite. This was a partner capable of managing a crisis. Agreed, but stay close to me. The trio turned their horses and galloped down the treacherous slope, taking a shortcut Lawson knew. They needed to intercept the convoy before it reached the canyon mouth. The moon was high now, illuminating the rugged landscape in stark relief. They reached a narrow choke point in the trail, a spot where the wagons would have to pass single file. Here, Lawson said. We ambush. We negotiate, Julian corrected, dismounting. From a position of strength, he pulled his rifle from the saddle scabbard. Bella, you hold the horses. If things go south, you ride for the sheriff. Minutes later, the rumble of wagons and the shouts of men filled the air. Vance, a burly man with a greed-filled face, rode at the front. He halted when he saw Julian standing in the middle of the trail, rifle resting casually in the crook of his arm, with Lawson standing silently on the ridge above, silhouetted against the moon, like an avenging angel. Evening, boss, Vance sneered, his hand hovering near his gun. Didn't expect to see you out this late. You're terminated, Vance, Julian said, his voice projecting clearly. For breach of contract and attempted theft of company assets. Turn the wagons around and I won't press charges. I'll just blacklist you from every ranch west of the Mississippi. I think I'll take my chances, Vance spat. That gold is worth more than your threats. Boys! He signaled his men, but before they could draw, a warning shot rang out. Not from Julian, but from Bella. She had stepped out from the rocks, holding a small Derringer pistol, her face illuminated by the wagon lanterns. "And if you cross a Montgomery," Bella declared, her voice ringing with authority, "you answer to the railroad. My father has Pinkerton detectives who will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. You won't live to spend a speck of that gold dust." The hired hands hesitated. Stealing from a rancher was one thing. Crossing the Montgomery Railroad empire was a death sentence. They looked at Vance, then at the resolute couple and the Apache warrior. The math didn't add up. The risk was too high. "I ain't dying for this, Vance," one of the drivers yelled, throwing down his reins. "Not against the railroad king's daughter." Vance roared in frustration, reaching for his gun, but Lozin was faster. An arrow thudded into the wood of the wagon seat, inches from his leg. He froze. "Go," Julian commanded. "Leave the wagons. Walk away." Defeated, Vance and his loyal few scrambled away into the night, leaving the supplies and the dynamite behind. The rest of the men surrendered, eager to keep their jobs or at least their lives. Julian turned to Bella, holstering his rifle. He walked over and took the small pistol from her trembling hand. "How you have a flair for negotiations, my dear," he said softly. "I was bluffing about the Pinkertons," she admitted, breathless. "They're all in Chicago right now." Julian laughed, a rich, genuine sound. "That makes it even better." In the aftermath, the alliance was solidified. The gold vein was secured, not just for Julian, but as a protected reserve that allowed Lozin's tribe to trade autonomously, bypassing the corrupt government agents. Julian and Bella used the gold to fund a massive expansion of the ranch and the railroad, creating a hub of commerce that benefited the entire region. The wedding of Julian Sterling and Isabella Montgomery was the event of the decade. It was held in the garden of Silver Creek, with the finest silks from the East and the best champagne from France. But among the distinguished guests of senators and tycoons, there was a delegation of Apache, led by Lozin. As they stood at the altar, Julian took Bella's hands. "To the most profitable partnership of my life," he whispered. "And the most adventurous," she replied, smiling. They kissed as the sun set over their shared empire, a golden glow that matched the hidden treasure that had brought them together. They had wealth, they had power, but most importantly, they had a trust forged in fire. And as the camera pulls back from the happy couple, the golden light of the West shines on a future as bright as the gold in the canyon. Greed can blind you to loyalty, but trust and communication are the true foundations of any lasting fortune. In business, as in love, the greatest asset you can possess is a partner who will ride into the dark with you. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this story of romance, gold, and adventure in the Wild West, please make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Join our community of story lovers and never miss an upload. We have so many more exciting tales coming your way.